feet, I'm afraid, have always been very important to me. And I've found over the years that the larger the foot size, the larger the shoe size, the happier the relationship.
Has to have large shoulders.
Mischievous look, someone who walks into the room as if they've done something pretty naughty or they know something a bit naughty.
Going attitude to life and not being so uptight.
Very fit body and a nice smile. I don't want any yellow teeth, they're out.
Short hair.
Bleach blonde hair and a nice flowing dress and boots, knee-length boots.
I like my man to smell comfortable and someone I feel safe with.
Nice pair of long legs.
They've got to have transport because I like going out a lot of the time.
I find people attractive if they're powerful.
Possibly money.
Someone's vulnerability and sensitivity.
I think men find me quite attractive because I'm quite a strong person.
I'm quite a compassionate person. I can show a lot of emotion to the person that I'm involved with.
Got nice eyes. I'm a bit mischievous myself.
Probably I'd say I'm pretty friendly and quite open.
I suppose I look a bit foreign, actually.
I think I can be quite open to new experiences.
Prepared to try anything once.
Some girlfriends have said to me they like my personality.
I always resented the fact as I was growing up that I was thought to be conventionally attractive. I don't think I am anymore now that I'm older.
Like my eyes, the colour of my eyes, that's more or less it.
I like my shoulder blades. These are my most attractive qualities for myself.
Hair colour.
I often make people laugh as well.
What I look for in a new relationship is someone who's better than the last one.
Fun. And just sort of someone that's going to make me feel young again. I can run around and just do crazy things with them.
Right, I don't actually look for new relationships. They just happen. People just pop up along the way and I don't know, if I take an interest in them, then I go for it.
Uncharted waters sort of thing. You know, don't know really what to expect here.
Excitement is the thing that is the most important thing in a new relationship because that's why you leave an old relationship and look for a new one.
Look for honesty and friendship.
I like a person who's very loving.
I would get involved in a relationship just for sex. Because I have in the past, so I don't see why I wouldn't in the future.
Somebody that cares for me. Somebody that wants to show a bit of commitment towards me.
I've never made the first move. I'm very shy.
Yeah, I would say that I almost always make the first move because I don't know if anybody has ever actually made a move in my direction.
Sometimes I make the first move because the man involved hasn't got enough self-confidence to.
If I like the person a lot and they're slow, then I'll make the first move.
Had a few drinks and I'm feeling a bit on top of the world. Yes, then I would.
But if I'm attracted to the person and if I say I get, make quite a lot of eye contact and then I'll be confident enough to make the first move.
We don't go round sort of, going around being like sex kittens and making these poor blokes go wobbly at the knees and wink at them and watch as their trousers explode.
I do if I'm drunk or under some kind of stimulant.
I felt sure that the person felt the same about me because I'm terrified of rejection.
If you're very attracted to someone, then you don't want to blow it.
First move isn't made by me, maybe it won't get made.
Definitely not if there's no eye contact.
My ideal partner would be able to support me so I wouldn't have to work at all.
I think the Cheshire Cat, really, from Alice in Wonderland. That's what I like, just someone that sits quietly in a tree, looks down and smiles at me. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Ultimate would be a nice 18-year-old sort of who feels that way towards me.
It needs to be someone who has a great sense of self-awareness.
I don't like people who have got loads of spots. That sounds makes you sound like really awful, but it's true. So
I think my ideal partner would have to not be around very much.
Oh, I like blonde hair, about 46, chest, and about 36 down the bottom.
I want somebody that I can talk to at any time about anything, and I don't have to put a show on for or have to be somebody else. I want to just be myself.
My ex-boyfriend with a lobotomy, basically.
Sensitive, sexually very active.
I think when you fall into a relationship, lust comes first. It's always been the same in my relationships, and then the loving thing comes afterwards. You sort of build on that relationship.
I used to link sex with love, and if it didn't happen and I thought he doesn't love me, but now I know that's not true. And you can sleep with someone and have sex with them and it doesn't mean you love them at all.
I was a bit worried if I would have sex on the first night with a girl, sort of think, well, what have I got here? How many other people she's been like this to, or it's because she likes me that much, she wants to have it with me here and now. I'll ask a lot of questions if I had slept with a girl on the first night.
I actually really like to see men take their shoes off because I really want to see what kind of feet they've got.
Whether you have sex on a first date, whether you, I don't know, go home and meet the mum the Sunday after you meet him for dinner, whatever, it just happens. There's no rules to it.
I don't believe in one-night stands. No chance.
Who am I? I spend a lot of my time around computer monitors. I'm a keen rugby fan, and I like driving fast cars at weekends. Now you can hear my voice, your perceptions of me may have shifted slightly due to clues about my gender and age. And now you can see my face, you're getting so much more information that I can just shut up. When you're communicating over the net using text, all the audio-visual signs are stripped away, leaving the bare words. Is the person being sarcastic? Are they being sincere? Are they lying? How can you tell? It's all text and no context. On the other hand, text is a great equaliser. With all the information about age, gender and appearance stripped away, people can be judged simply on the value of their ideas, without preconceptions or prejudices. Whenever I chat to people over the internet in real time, I'm always really tempted to lie.
My name's Helen Chadwick. I work as an artist. I make things. Some people like them, some don't. We think of flowers as nature, and we think of gardens as being natural, but they're not, they're highly artificial. I suspect that I try to elaborate fictions for potentially pleasurable moments or encounters. And one has to acknowledge that these are delicate and most likely cannot sustain themselves, like a bubble. There's a phrase that's quoted, Homo bula, man is but a bubble.
I am Orlan. I am an artist. I work with my body. I fight against God and DNA.
Space is just as important as the objects and the substance that you stick in it. At each stage I take a snapshot. Rhythm is the spine. Whichever way you normally react, you need to try doing the reverse. The sound is as important as the meaning. The first groove you lock into is your mother's heartbeat when you're in the womb.
There is a kind of tension between the animalistic and the spiritual. I think sexual seduction is a place where you lose control of yourself. For me, the notion of gender and one's difference between not being a man, if you like, in my case, is, I suppose, quite central to my work. I'm interested in putting things together that look like they belong to each other, although they don't. I always use materials that, in a sense, I'm seduced by myself in some kind of way. The work starts with writing, then I kind of jump out of that and move into drawing and try and invent things from my imagination.
Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil.
It's hard communicating the real stuff with people you love.
Homo bula, man is but a bubble.
Enlightenment lies in letting go of our false understanding.
One lady used to have out-of-the-body experiences quite often when she went out shopping.
It means the transmigration of a soul.
The body is only a costume.
Flesh is flour. The body is a garden. Head, brain, heart. Wax, spurt, splurge, shoot. Homo bula, man is but a bubble.
I gave my body for art. The body is only a costume. I don't want to resemble Mona Lisa.
Part of the process of courtship, I think, is to make the other person a screen on which you project your stuff. And the work of a relationship sometimes is trying to put your hands through the screen and feel exactly who it is you've chosen to be your screen, and trying to understand what it is in you that has made that choice. When I first learned a little about African music, one of the things that fascinated me was the juxtaposition of spiritual love and romantic sexual love. You know, that people in some ways in their religious activities could include their sexual selves, and in their sexual and romantic activities could include their spiritual selves, whereas in the West I was so used, you know, that you divided it up and you had sort of God and the devil. And a lot of what I'm looking for in a relationship is a sense of wholeness. When you first connect with someone, you tend to fire off your sexual energy. You know, it's a physical attraction. You want to mate, you want to connect, you want to be together. And it's a spiritual power and strength, though, that sustains things.
In my past experience, all the boyfriends that I've had have been great sex. I've been lucky, I suppose.
I tend to think more about the good things that happened than the bad ones.
After a relationship ends, you always say, oh, God, what did I go out with them for? Or, oh, God, wasn't he a bastard? But, or you say, you know, oh, I really miss him. It depends which way it's happened. But it is usually worth the pain because you learn from your experiences.
It took me 6 or 7 years to get over my last relationship.
Sometimes you've got to suffer a bit of pain because then that makes the more pleasurable moments stick in your mind more.
I don't understand why people automatically expect that they should be hurt because they're enjoying themselves.
I went off the rails a bit. I didn't treat girls too well for a while.
If at the end of a relationship it's like, no, never, it's not worth it, I'll be celibate for God knows how long.
Never thought someone would come along again, but I'm glad she did, and if it goes wrong again, then at least she showed me I can still love again, and I owe her that.
In Africa, individuality and individual judgment are highly prized. As a consequence, obsessive love, whereby one person is completely focused on another, is regarded as abnormal and perhaps a sign of mental illness. I'm Dr. Christopher Davis. I'm a lecturer in social anthropology.
And there was a shop where things kept vanishing and reappearing. For example, they would cook their eggs in a room behind the shop, and while one of them was bending down to pick up a spatula one day, a set of 6 eggs vanished, which subsequently reappeared in various parts of the shop. Psychokinesis is defined as an apparent breach of the laws of physics as we understand them, and some subjects do report experiences in which things appear to move either without any force that should be moving them, or to appear or disappear with no apparent reason.
Inside of us there is always another to whom we are speaking all the time. And one of the beauties of falling in love is to be able to go through the day thinking of yourself and talking to yourself in terms framed by what you see the other person to be. And that's why it makes us feel so new.
Both sides have to be willing to listen to what may be painful criticism at times, But if one can do that, the other one will begin to be able to do it as well, and it'll both become stronger, and things will also almost certainly improve. The biggest fault within a relationship which can make it go wrong seems to be when people withdraw from one another. Change and the ability to cope with change is a vital element in healthy families and healthy couples.
I'm Celia Green. I'm the Research Director of the Institute of Psychophysical Research in Oxford.
The danger of lust lies in the fact that sex is uncontained, and like fire, when it's uncontained, it destroys rather than transforms. Sex is the bodily variant of fire. Sex is regarded as a very natural function. It's not overloaded with notions of either sin or of necessarily passionate romantic intensity, but it's much more like an appetite, like eating.
Communication is important in a relationship because to have a good relationship, you obviously have to be aware of each other and what each other feels and what each of you likes and doesn't like, so that you know where you stand and where they stand, and you can try to relate to them in a way that makes them happy rather than making them miserable.
If I was going out with a man that was bisexual, I couldn't expect him just to be with me. He'd need to feel desires with another man, and I think it'd be very selfish of me to stop him. I think I'd be very jealous, but that kind of fidelity, I think you have to let go.
Physical fidelity is relatively unimportant. Mental and emotional fidelity is much more important.
Trust me, if some man cheated on me, I tell you, I'd make sure they regretted it, and the person they cheated on with as well.
That is very important. I wouldn't tolerate anybody sleeping around when I was going out with them.
Fidelity is important to me in a relationship because of past experience that I'd had with people going off after they'd started an affair.
I definitely wouldn't lie to anyone, never mind a boyfriend.
I have lied in a relationship, and I think having done that, I think that in the future I would be very, very hesitant about doing it.
I think lying is an important part of a relationship, but I think the important thing is to know when and when not to lie.
I would lie in a relationship if it was going to be beneficial to the relationship and beneficial to me.
No, I think I would bend the truth, but I really don't think I can lie.
But during the period, I also stayed in European many cities, for example, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Düsseldorf, Roma, Milano. Mostly I stayed in New York City. My name is Yayoi Kusama. I was born in Japan. I came to US in 1957.
I find out someone's been lying to me, a partner's been lying to me, the trust goes.
Or how much you know someone, or think that you know someone, it's still very hard to read what they're thinking or read into their actions.
If my partner had slept with my best friend, then I don't think I'd still love them. But then I would get my revenge, and revenge would be sweet.
Well, I'm divorced now, but yes, I was able to tell when he was lying.
There's no fool like an old fool.
Often the patterning of flowers is there purely for insects to attract them into the nectar source. It's like runway lights leading to the nectar source. There is a moth from Madagascar which has a tongue over a foot long, which it uses to reach into an orchid to collect nectar, and in doing so, pollinate the flower. It's the only animal that can do so. Quite a few species of orchids, called the bee orchids, which mimic the shape and the feel and the smell of a female bee, and the male bees will actually be duped into thinking that this is a female bee, try and copulate with the flower, and in doing so collect some pollen from the flower, and then when they fly onto another orchid flower, will pass that on again. A species of furry carpenter bee has developed a relationship with the pink gentian flower, whereby if it lowers its wing beat to a note approaching middle C, it causes the flower to vibrate, showering the insect with pollen. My name is Dave Clark and I'm head keeper at the Invertebrate Conservation Centre at London Zoo.
What I need is not always what I want. What I want is not always what I need. Although I often forget, I have learned that it's by changing yourself that you can change a relationship and not by changing the other person. I think I've written more songs about relationships since the breakup of my marriage because that's forced me to look at how I function in relationships. I think we have all sorts of conditioned emotional responses to things, and we create actions to get responses. But what we want and desire may not actually be what's good for us and what we need. I think we're memory banks and we store up our emotional experiences and blocks in our bodies and in our head. And you can either decide to confront this stuff or run away from it. And either way it hurts. But one way has a way out.
In what we call an out-of-the-body experience, the subject seems to be seeing his own body from the outside, probably from some position above it, while he carries on his normal experience of life.
You can stop the pattern repeating itself if you look to yourself. It's not the person you're attracted to, it's things within you. And I kind of work on that and I think, right, I've overcome that. And then I realise 6 months down the line that I'm with someone who's exactly the same as my last partner.
Finished it there and then, but gave it a week and went back again. And went back for some more. Got kicked in the teeth again.
I think that person was quite special in our relationship. I do tend to I compare new people with him and all his good points and totally forget his bad points. So I think, again, I'm just kind of repeating my pattern. I'm just looking for the same type of person.
I always feel that there are patterns in relationships and mistakes which I retread, if you like.
Stay in a relationship even if you're not having sex with somebody, if you're really good friends.
Well, friendship in a relationship for me is inherent because that's where, for me, a relationship comes from. It's built on a friendship. There's no one without the other.
Well, relationship with sex, you might just be with a prostitute or something like that because there's no feelings in it. You're just getting rid of your sexual urges, aren't you?
I think friendship's important in a relationship with friends.
Just get a sixth sense. You can just feel if they're lying to you. I don't know what it is. I can just get the sense that they're lying.
Probably wouldn't want to know about why he should be lying. So I'm glad he doesn't tell me.
If she felt that there was a reason for her to have to lie, then that's, in a sense, her business, but I wouldn't really want to know anything about it.
No, I've never had my heart broken. It's usually me that does the heartbreaking.
I don't know if my heart's ever been broken. It's been slightly cracked.
Oh, I was devastated. I sort of really fell head over heels for her. Sort of went round in a daze or a couple of months.
いう感じがしますね。もう自分なんか奪おうとしてるんじゃないか。
Men are often unclear in their communication about emotional matters.
If you've loved someone and you put your trust in someone, there's too much heartache afterwards. You can try and do it, but it soon goes wrong again, especially when a new boyfriend or girlfriend comes along.
I'm still friends with about everyone that I've been out with bar one.
Some of the strongest friendships that I have are with people that I've had relationships with.
I think there are some times you need to leave things. Once it's finished, it's finished.
I've had my heart broken. I've fallen in love with as somebody. I've physically attracted to somebody, had an affair with them. They've gone off with somebody else, and my heart was broken then for a while. But I thought, well, so that's life. And carry on.
Some girls, they'll say one thing and completely do the opposite.
Yeah, I would still love him, but whether I forgave him or not would be a different thing. Don't like people that lie to me.
I think you can always tell when someone close to you is lying, but If you don't want to, you can overlook it.
I can't look at you when they're saying something, it's so obvious.
You can compromise too much. You can compromise yourself, the person that you are.
If you don't have that compromise, then obviously somebody's doing all the giving and somebody's doing all the taking.
Yeah, sometimes like you disagree with someone, and you know that the question is right, but they insist that you're wrong, so you have to back down just to keep them happy. When you find out in your relationship the other person is slightly different to you, or maybe better looking than what you think, you feel really down, and you're like you've been totally rejected.
It was with the person that I first fell in love with. He actually had an affair with my best friend.
You feel really down, and you just want them back, like.
If it's maybe, say if it was something serious, like he'd fallen in love with someone else or he'd slept with someone else whilst you were in a relationship, and I think you owe it to that person to tell them.
Particularly need to know everything about someone else, so you need to lie sometimes.
I would lie in a relationship to save my own skin, definitely.
I wouldn't lie in a relationship. I think in a relationship, oftentimes it's very satisfactory to let somebody else take control, and therefore it makes it easier to compromise.
Never lie if I'm in love.
Be lovers for any length of time and not care for a person. And I think friendship is part of that caring. It's quite a part of a deeper understanding and interaction. I think so. Friendship is important in a relationship.
I think friendship is disastrous in a relationship.
Tell a little white lie occasionally. That a lot of people are unfaithful in relationships, and in some ways I think that unfaithfulness is what keeps relationships going.
Because I've tried open relationships, and if both parties are seeing other people, then it works. But if only one person is, then the other person just gets really jealous, and it kind of spoils the balance. I had my heart broken. It was so devastating. It was so magnificent that I just couldn't. No one could have explained how that felt.
Yeah, great sex, great body, crap mind. That's what it came down to. Sometimes there's the third party. You know, I don't know, maybe you want to kill them. It's a bit difficult.
Recently I've been out with someone only for about 6 months, and the relationship is very bad, and I could never talk to him again, like, because the way we split up.
Friendship, I think, is one of the most important things in a relationship, because I think the world's a shit place to be anyway, so I think you have to fight on the same side.
I think we're not really taught well how to compromise or how to negotiate to get what you want.
Compromise is very important in a relationship. Both partners should meet in the middle.
Yeah, I think within a relationship, each individual has to keep their independence. Otherwise, well, from a personal point of view, I don't think I'd like to be sort of swallowed up into this idea of a couple. I'd still like to keep my own identity.
I don't think it's possible to remain friends after a relationship is ended, because there's too much bad feeling normally.
Depends upon how you leave the relationship.
There are some ex-partners that I don't speak to and can't stand the sight of, and some that I still have very strong relationships with and can still go out drinking with.
It is possible to remain friends. I mean, as I say, I'm divorced and I'm still friends with my ex-husband.
I believe that your close friends are going to be around a lot longer than boyfriends.
And we have this ultimate, I would describe ultimate sort of friend relationship of friend, companion, partner, you know, everything that you wish all rolled into one.
Having children makes you seek out sexual gratification that has nothing to do with procreation.
I've been on my own for 7 years now, with just me and the children, and I've become very, very selfish. I don't know how I'd react. It'd be fine just going out and meeting someone and just keeping it at that, but to actually have maybe someone come to live in the house, no.
So I think when you're in a relationship, it's so easy to think for the pair of you rather than thinking about yourself.
What relationships have taught me is that you have to maintain a very strong sense of self, and that you can't lose that when you fall in love. Otherwise, that you have nothing left at the end.
Buddhism is a journey that begins in morality, that incorporates renunciation, and that flowers in great compassion. In a relationship, so often suffering results from failing to realize that things change. Wisdom is the mind that discerns emptiness. In the case of a Buddha, this is a blissful mind of clear light. Buddhism aims to overcome the three root poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion. A Buddha is one who has attained the perfection of wisdom and compassion. Yatha Bhuta Darshana, seeing things the way they really are. For Buddhists, transcendence is not a question of moving from this world to another world. Rather, Buddhists think of transcendence as transcending what we call the three root poisons. In other words, transcending ignorance, transcending greed, craving, and transcending anger or hatred. I'm Dr. Paul Williams, and I'm reader in Indo-Tibetan Studies and director of the Centre for Buddhist Studies at the University of Bristol.
One lady used to have out-of-the-body experiences quite often. When she went out shopping, she would be floating along above her head and watch herself walking along the high street.
To be female for me is to want everything. Traditionally defined gender roles, male and female, are no longer operative. When it comes to new men, give me the macho bastard every time. My name's Kathy Acker, and I'm a writer.
There's a man for whom the smell of chicken will give rise to pointed sensations in his hands, and for whom the taste or smell of spearmint will give rise to the sensation of smooth, cool glass columns passing across the surface of his hands. There is a woman for whom the word Moscow will always conjure an image of violet, dark blue, yellow dots and silver speckles. This person has coloured hearing. Whenever they hear a word, they have a colour experience. Well, I've met a person with synesthesia, for whom the word wisdom conjures a very bright colour of white with yellow speckles. When I said blood, did you see red? When I said coal, did you see black? But what about when I said wisdom?
Nice to share things, share experiences, share things you see, things you love with one another, rather than just doing it for yourself.
I am a woman. I have sexual needs. I miss that.
It's nice to feel loved, but it's not everything.
I know a lot of people that have, I've got to be going out with someone. I think it makes them feel good, makes them feel wanted. It doesn't usually bother me at all. Like, I go for months and months without going out with someone.
Being in a relationship is less important than my work.
Find sometimes that I need space from relationships.
At the moment, being in a relationship is not very important. I've got my children.
I'd like to give you the test of genuineness. Snow, infinity, wisdom, coal, blood, space.
Part of the fantasies that I create for myself in my life at different times, the idea of a relationship, I think, is more important than the lived experience.
Being in a relationship to me is company, friendship.
Relationship isn't that important as long as I can have regular sex.
Actually, I think it's more fun, being out socialising and looking around.
And I think it's about this union, this equality that music can offer, this space where two people can actually become one outside of the body in a whole, complete experience. People have said occasionally that improvising music and the experience that we have within that comes very close to having sex. Each of us who use words every day will have learned to hide our emotions, will have learned to be quite clever with them. Whereas with music, it's quite direct and quite unique. And in this sense, it gives us a great sense of freedom, a great sense of feeling who we are very quickly and very directly. A lot of people who come for music therapy are usually people who need a lot of support from others, are in relationships where another person is always in control. What music can do is give someone a sense of well-being, give someone a sense of themselves within a creative relationship. We all have a heartbeat which beats in a certain rhythm. We all walk in a certain way. We can get faster, we can get slower. We can use our voices to create tone, and we can get louder and we can get softer. Music itself relates very directly to the human condition. I'm Nigel Hartley, and I'm a music therapist.
Red is sexual. Red is a bordello. Red is maternal. Red is safe. Red is seduction. I think sexual seduction is a place where you lose control of yourself and you're then reliant on another. You're letting another into your life or into your thinking or into your mind, and it becomes a very dangerous place. If you're in a house and you feel quite safe because there's a repeated floorboard, or the bricks are all the same size, or the window panes are all the same size, and you kind of take it for granted, but at the same time it kind of gives a kind of stability to one's existence. For me, the notion of gender and one's difference between not being a man, if you like, in my case, is, I suppose, quite central to my work. My name is Kathy de Moncho and I'm an artist.
A whole range of attributes that add to a face's attractiveness. These include gender typicality, youthfulness, the way a face looks at you, how expressive it is, how symmetrical it is, and perhaps how similar it is to your own face. In faces, symmetry is going to be additionally important because symmetry can indicate good genes, a good immune system, and therefore good growth patterns. Attractive faces, we find, consistently different from average. We were finding for male faces things like slightly longer chin, protuberant chin, deeper set eyes. These were attractive features. For female faces, we were finding a smaller chin, larger eyes, higher cheekbones. These were found universally attractive. There is a phrase that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and this is commonly held. If that's the case, everybody's opinion should be unique. What we're finding is that that's not true, that there's a great deal of consistency across cultures, across genders, across ages, about what is attractive in both male and female faces.
Understanding illusions helps us to understand vision. Understanding vision helps us to communicate. And understanding how we communicate will help us understand each other better. Illusions are dangerous in one sense because they emphasize where vision can go wrong. But really they're very useful because they give us clues about how vision actually works.
One of my problems, I think, is that I can freeze myself in a problem situation, that I don't externalize, I don't express my emotions. And I found it very hard in my 20s to talk about myself openly and about my feelings. And through doing a variety of courses and then doing this therapy stuff, I've gotten much more comfortable with that. And now I sort of pine for heart-to-heart communication when I'm with someone, and particularly if I'm interested in them romantically. I think in someone's face you can communicate a great deal of history, and that we are capable of receiving a lot of information when we're looking for a mate. So it's not just the obvious body signals, whether we're closed or open, or brushing hair back, or mimicking each other's posture. All these things are sort of universal signals.
The whole of vision is a controlled hallucination, and it has to be because vision is such an immensely difficult problem. What you're seeing, what you're being presented with on your screen, is a flat two-dimensional picture of me, but you're interpreting that as a three-dimensional solid person. You probably see me in continuous motion, but in fact what you're being presented with is a series of stationary photographs of me, which are being presented one after the other quite quickly. Although actually what you're seeing of me is just my head, you're automatically imagining the rest of me, so that you know, for instance, that I've got hands and I've got legs. My name is Dr. Mike Harris. I'm a vision scientist at the University of Birmingham, but I'm an illusion.